Welcome back to another take on personal leadership with your host, Nick. I've got Tim Marsh in the building. We're going to talk about learning how to say no and also how to teach our people, if we're leaders of teams, how to say no. So I guess to kick it off, why is saying no important?
The easiest way to answer that is if you flip it to the opposite. If we as individuals say yes to everything, so the requests that we get, the things that are going on around us, people need help. If we say yes to everything, at some point we're saying no to something. And it's likely to be an uncontrolled no that pops up out of the blue because we've just run out of time, effort and energy.
Okay, so getting practical here, what are some specific examples of situations where we might have to say no?
You have people in positions, particularly where they're new in a position and wanting to impress, or there could be a sense of hierarchy or power difference in there, so people being in positions that they might deem themselves being lower in, or just generally where in organisations where there's lots on and requests could be coming from multiple sources, certainly for people who are in roles where they might have a number of different parts of the business that they're connected with. So the daily piece of someone ringing and going, hey, there's this thing coming, are you okay to be ready when it comes in and be able to handle that, no problems. Meanwhile, someone else has gone, I've got this document that I need you to read, can you have a look at that? And someone else is going, can we meet in 20 minutes? And all of this is a typical world for a lot of people where they're getting bombarded by stuff. And if their default is, yep, no problem, yes, can do that, yep, all okay, that's where it's going to catch them out. So the saying no piece, and I want to put this in context, is my perspective is I don't think there's a lot of people who actually are comfortable in saying no. Okay, so if you think about that, there's not a lot of people who enjoy going around going no to everything around them. Okay, most people are in a position where they feel like they have to say yes or they want to say yes. So I want to flip this around, and instead of saying no, it's around how do I actually not say yes straight away. Okay, so we're not talking about no, we're talking about not going to the default of yes. So it's a negative statement about a positive outcome.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you think about the scenarios where people are saying yes and then afterwards either regretting it or appreciating the fact that it maybe wasn't the best decision, etc. This is about how can you minimize the chance of being in that situation. And part of it is coming up with some strategies that work for you in leading you away from going straight to yes.
Yeah, so two questions. One question is, how is that so that we can have the space, the time to be able to think through and take a step back and have a look at, well, this is what I've got on my plate. So if I said yes to this is what I'd be saying no to? Mm-hmm. Is that part of it?
It is definitely part of it. So it fits with the high return activities that we've spoken about previously.
That's right.
Because if I'm saying yes to everything, once again, I'm likely to be saying no to elements that are within that. So I could get to the end of the week and go, I've done all of these other things, but I actually haven't done the important things that are going to make a difference. And there's a couple of parts to this too. That we live in a world where, once again, I think there's more of a trend. It's just a personal perspective. But if someone says yes, it actually reinforces behaviours from other people to keep coming to them. I go to Nick because he says yes. They may not directly be saying that, but in their head they're going, there's something about Nick that I like working with and I like happening. But there's also a piece that you start to see slip in, once again, see it with people in new positions who are trying to impress. When they start getting caught out, that becomes really challenging for them. So all of a sudden I've said yes, and now I've missed a time frame on something critical and I'm still in my probation period. That's a really uncomfortable sort of situation. And look, everyone misses stuff, but it has an importance in that. It has an importance in just from a mental health point of view, once again, a perspective. But I think there's a lot of people who are turning up every day going, I don't know how we're going to get through everything.
And that's the context. That's their lens of the day that they're coming into.
Yep.
So, okay, we're in... talking practical here. We're in a situation, someone's come to us, whether it's our boss, someone that we're leading, can you please do this? I need you to do this. How do we say no without just saying no?
And so let's go back to that not going to yes piece.
Okay.
So an example or a couple of examples. Would love to help. Can I just check my calendar? Or can you give me a moment? I just want to make sure that when I commit to it that I'm going to be able to absolutely do it. Or can I check with you this other thing, like this is the other, certainly if it's a line manager, can I check with you this thing that I'm working on now? Are you okay if I just park that so I can do that? So it's not about passing the responsibility back to anyone, but it's checking for understanding, and it's also, this is about informed decision making once again. Am I committing my time, effort and energy to the things that are going to make the most difference, or am I simply jumping in on stuff without thinking about it? And another piece of this is, obviously there's some people who are people pleasers. They have habit. This is not easy to break. That's why I firmly believe, particularly those people who are in that space, they're not going to turn around and say no, I'm not doing it. If they can work through a process with the other person to be able to say, and another good strategy here is, can I just check when you need it by, which is different to when you want it by. Because I might want it today, but I actually don't need it until Friday. So it's Tuesday today, which allows for even some negotiation sometimes. And this is part of, I'm not in the shoes of people, but I have been, where you might have an intimidation kind of factor that's there about, the CEO's just walked in and said this needs to be done now. I mean, I'm not suggesting that someone says, wait one moment while I think about it. If it's a there's a context with this, but there's still a conversation to be had. Even if the CEO came in to a brand new person in the business, if that person doesn't report to the CEO, that afterwards they go and check with their line manager and actually say, hey, CEO's asked to do this.
Exactly. Because
I'm now asking for clarity about what I might say no to make this other thing happen.
Yeah, and that piece about the line manager, I think in the example you said before, and I guess it also has relevance here. With this example, if, say, your line manager comes to you with something, you're already working on a piece, for the example, and, being able to say to them, okay, not a problem, this piece over here, did you want me to, I think the example was, did you want me to park that while I attack this piece? It positions you as in a way that you're not sitting there objecting to what they're saying.
Yes.
So that negative piece that we talked about before, you're not objecting. You're actually standing side by side with the person going, okay, look over here. Here are these two pieces.
Yep.
What would you like me to attack first?
Yeah, I love that description. It is like that. It then stops being confrontation of things.
And it can also stop it from being misconstrued, misunderstanding about whether it's a personal thing. It's actually, we're just looking at these two tasks that need doing.
Yep.
In what order are we doing them, essentially?
Yes.
So that can be I like that. That's a good tactic to use, because there's going to be scenarios, and we were talking about it in the last episode, where we've got our priorities and we're set up for the day and we start our day at our desk, and then 5 minutes in, someone's come over and said, this is urgent, park everything else, let's do this.
Yes.
That happens every day.
Yes. So
it's about how we deal with that, right?
Well, and to make it more complex is some of the interactions we have with others, we're the only ones who have all of that coming to us. The other conversations aren't being had between people. There isn't a line manager talking to another line manager going, hey, before I ask such and such, just checking, that unfortunately does not happen as often as it should. So call it, the monkey's on the back of you as the person who's ultimately, it is a difficult one for people to sometimes understand, but ultimately you are the leader and the manager of yourself with your own time and your own effort, as much as you may not feel like that. And there is an ability to use this process to inform other people in their decision making too, because you see it in organisations where if these conversations aren't being had, something gives. And when something gives, it normally gives in a pretty significant way. So someone goes on stress leave, you end up with a serious conflict, you end up with a customer who's now irate because something hasn't been met. Those things are the macro scale of something much smaller which has been bubbling away over time.
Okay, so to wrap this episode up, we do this every week. 7-day commitment for our viewers and listeners, what would that look like around the area of saying no?
I'd challenge people to, might sound simple, but it could be challenging with some people, just one opportunity where instead of saying yes, they try something else.
One of the examples that we use today, maybe.
Yeah, yep. Give me a moment. I just need to check something. Are you okay if I have a look at my calendar and make sure I can lock in the time? Can we talk about this thing I'm currently working on? Are you okay for me to park it? There's all sorts of approaches, but there's a couple of ideas there.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next episode.